Good evening. Welcome to PoliticIt podcast. Tonight we have Joe Penland, Joe from Texas. Great to have you here, Joe. And I'm really fascinated with what you're doing. People can go to joefromtexas.com. You've got this contract from the American people. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I look back when Newt Gingrich in '96 had a contract with the American people that if the American people elected him and enough to where they'd have the House, he'd be Speaker, they were going to get a bunch of things through Congress, get them voted on to see if they couldn't get America back on track. Because what rose the awareness to that was a gentleman by the name of Ross Perot in '92. He got into the election, and because he wanted to raise the awareness that we were $4 trillion in the hole, and he said it was unsustainable. And then he ran again in '96. And after he did that, and Newt Gingrich and his group did win, and they worked with Clinton, bipartisan Democrat and Republicans worked together. They balanced the budget 4 times.
First time for a long
ever.
time. Yeah.
Well, first time ever to do it 4 times in a row, and he paid it down twice. And a good friend of mine, Dave Walker, who was the Comptroller General of the United States, was there. And and then if you look at the Fed chairman, he thought we were going to pay our debt off. Dave Walker said it'll never happen. America will never pay their debt off, and we haven't. We went from $4 trillion that Ross Perot said was too much. We'll be $36 trillion when Biden finishes his first term. That's 9 times. And Ross Perot had to come out of his safety net as being a businessman in Texas, put his hat in the ring to run for president to get the awareness up. We're trying to approach it a different way. I don't want to run for office. I'm not a candidate. I'm not a celebrity. I'm footing my own bill. But I know America's in trouble now at 34 and be 36 trillion by November. We have got to stop the bleeding on this country.
Yeah, fabulous. Hey, let's talk a little bit about you to start with. I want people to get to know you, Joe, a little bit here. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about your background, how you came to be who you are today?
Well, I started out in Frisco, Texas, as a child. My mom, my dad, and 3 brothers. Dad was a painter, and he was an alcoholic, and he had a bad stroke in '57. And we literally didn't have enough to eat in about 2 weeks. My younger brother had to have open heart surgery 67 years ago, which was experimental. So Mama had Daddy on one end of the house, John on the other end of the house, in a little 4-room house, and she had no way to make an income. So she started taking in laundry for people and would launder it there at the house, and we walked everywhere we went. My dad died shortly after that, but we got a pension, a disability pension, from the Social Security side. And if we hadn't had that, we'd have literally starved to death. The churches helped us, the supermarket helped us, and we took in odd jobs as children. We worked in the cotton fields, and you did all kinds of odd work there. And it breaks my heart to see that Social Security now could run out in 9 years. That's 68 million Americans, John. If that happens, you'll double the poverty rate in this country overnight. How sad would that be? So it's a big deal for me because I had to have Social Security, and I'm one of those people that was raised on Social Security. So it's an important. I don't look at it as an entitlement like a lot of people do, because you pay into it. Now, obviously, a lot of people draw more out of it because we live longer now. And that's just one of the missions that I see out there, that America's got to get a hold of the programs that take care of the American people. The American people built this country, not the politicians, and I don't mean anything bad about that.
No, I understand.
You're a great politician, and I came up to Utah today because it's your birthday. You're 65 years old, so Joe from Texas came to be with John.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Nice.
How's that? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
But we started out very poor, and then we moved to the Beaumont area to live with my grandmother, my mother, and us after our father passed away. And she helped my mom so she could get out and get a job. I got out of high school in '68. I started on working in '68, traveling the countryside, hanging buildings and bridges. And then I seen this project come up about matting, and seen that on jobs that we'd done, and I borrowed $2,750 to start in my mother's backyard. In May, I finished my 50th year and we've been blessed more than I could have ever imagined. And we have a foundation.
You actually have patents on these mats and the oil fields, right?
Yeah, we have several patents, and we have a lot of other patents. But yeah, we patented a product for the oil field that changed the way you lay a drilling location out in the marsh. And me and Linda started the foundation many years ago, and we support a lot of charities. And I just see that there's too much bleeding in America financially. We need leadership back in Washington. We need to change a lot of things that are there. I don't want to be in office, but I do want to go out here and talk to America and let them know what's really going on in Washington, and see if I can get a group of people to think like I do and hope like I do and pray like I do, that these 10 things, one of the candidates will embrace that. I hope to talk to both of them in October, or 3 of them if there's 3 in the race, and ask them who would embrace this and do like Newt Gingrich did. And if you'll take this to Congress and get it voted on, I'm going to see if I can get you 5 to 7 million votes to vote your way. And I think that'll sway the election.
Yeah, fabulous. I kind of went through some of these contract ideas here. Let's go through a couple of them just to kind of talk about what you're trying to do with this. Okay, so number 1 here, we will rein in spending and control the national debt. Boy, I tell you, if we could just slow down the spending for a while, right?
Yeah, America doesn't have a problem making money. We make a lot of money. We send it in. We just spend more than we make. No business can do that. No household can be ran that way. And no state can be ran that way. And that's why I'm up in Utah today, because Utah does such a great job balancing their budget and paying their bills on time and cutting taxes and doing that's the American way. You can do it if you manage it right.
Yeah, brightest outlook, according to Rich States, Poor States, for the past, 15 years or so. I mean, we've been getting that designation every single year.
It's amazing. But, in order to make this happen, we're going to have to come up with some constitutional amendments to bind Congress to make sure that we have a budget and we have it on time and we adhere to it. Because, these limits and things that we have, the debt ceiling and all, it doesn't work. It hasn't worked.
They just raise it every year, right?
We don't have a budget on time. We have got to get back to following some rules, and that's why we need to go back to running this country. And if we do that, where they have to follow the rules, we'll get this thing reined back in, along with some other things. This is number 1, but we have a lot of things we have to do. Number 2 is another thing. Here's a constitutional amendment, fiscal responsibility constitutional amendment. This is designed to reduce the debt and stabilize the. We got the debt to GDP. We have to get it in line, or we'll never get there.
Right.
Now you can have debt, but you have to raise your economy too.
Right.
If you're not raising your economy, look at the things we farmed out as a nation. I mean, we farmed out drilling for oil. We've been doing that in this country for 150 years. It's got tens of thousands of good paying jobs that go along with it. Along with that, and like I said the other day to a gentleman, you might farm out buying TVs from China or Japan, but you're going to farm out your national security, your oil? I mean, how foolish is it? Yeah. We're making some really foolish moves in Washington today, and the biggest reason I see that is the bickering. Nobody gets along with anything. A new president, a new administration comes in. If you have good policies going, John, and you're outgoing, they're going to kill all your policies.
Right.
Just because, no matter how good they were for America. Now that's dangerous. And we pushed ourselves to the end of this thing. We're at the end of our financial situation if we don't make a move pretty quick.
Right.
We go another 10 years, go another 20 years, another 20 trillion down to 56 trillion. I don't know that America can overcome that.
Well, I think this whole idea of overwhelming our country with debt is something that has been pushed for a while. I mean, you go back to Cloward and Piven and some of the things they suggested we do. It's interesting. Hey, we're going to take a break, and then we'll come right back.
Okay, good.
Thanks. Hey Siri, how do I get to the state capitol?
John, the fastest way to get to the Capitol is to make a lot of empty promises, to get help from special interest groups and endorsements from politicians. You will also need to buy a better suit.
That's not going to work for me, Siri. You need to find another way.
John, listen to me. If you're going to win your race, you will need to play the political game. You also need to use more hairspray and buy a golden retriever. Also, a new phone case would be nice.
That's enough of this.
John, are you there? Did you just leave me on the road? Fine. Keep your principles, John.
My name's John Johnson. I'm not running to be part of a system, and I don't owe anyone special favors. I'm running to listen to and work for you. I'm running to get results. Welcome back to PoliticIt. We've got Joe from Texas here, Joe Penrod, and really, I love what we're going through here with your. You've got this contract from the American people that you're pushing. That the next one on the list is this securing the border.
Absolutely.
I mean, I went down there to Texas with Congresswoman Flores, and we sat there on the Rio Grande and watched people come across. I mean, it's to turn over our immigration system, to a foreign body, especially the cartels, right, is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, it is, and I'm glad you brought up the cartels. Mexico's not happy with what's going on. There's 150 different countries of people coming through Mexico to come to the United States. The border's under control, but it's under the cartel control. When Trump was in office, I think there was 1.9 million people came across in 4 years. We're approaching 10 million, and he's still got a year left in this administration. It makes no sense. This country has always embraced immigrants. From the late 1800s to 1954, Ellis Island, we had 20 million people come through Ellis Island the right way. Germans, Italians, the French, they came here as a chance of America, a life here.
Right.
And 38% of America today has ties to Ellis Island. There's nothing wrong with bringing in immigrants to work in your country and move your country forward to work in the factories and so forth. That's a good thing if you do it right. But look at all the damage that's coming across. It's costing America about $600 billion a year down on the border. Now you think about that. When we go 1.6 trillion in the hole and 600 billion of it was at the border, that's senseless.
Right.
And then look at the interest you're paying, John, to foreign countries. It's almost like there's a plot to destroy America, and I'm not going to sit here and not say something about it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I noticed the next one on your list is supporting the enforcement of our laws.
Yeah, the law enforcement. You heard not too long ago that we're going to defund police.
Right.
I wear a Blue Lives Matter band. I have for many, many years, way before there was the 9/11 or anything else. But can you imagine going to the mall or going out in your neighborhood and the bad people in this country knew that we didn't have any policemen? There was no highway patrol. There was no sheriff's departments. Where would you and your wife be safe?
Yeah.
Nowhere. Not even in your house.
Right.
I mean, how foolish is that? We have to have law enforcement. It's just there is a rule of law that we should all abide by. Now, a lot of people, they jump on the law enforcement if one policeman does something wrong. Look, we have priests that do things wrong. We have teachers do things wrong. We have doctors do things. We have parents. There's bad people. Nobody has a patent on being bad.
Right.
But when you have somebody bad, you just pull them like a bad tooth. If you got a bad policeman, you pull him. You don't fill him and you don't put a crown on him.
Right.
You just take him out.
Right. Yeah, I think that's, you look at, say, San Francisco. I mean, Nordstrom's just closed their number one store because they can't make any money. There's more going out with criminals than there are people that are paying for stuff.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous what's going on. You say here we'll implement a energy policy.
Yeah, I mean, we need to go back to drilling. Coal is still a fantastic way to have energy, natural gas. I mean, look at all the things that we've done for 150 years and got to where we are. We're the superpower. We lead the world in most everything. And when we came out of World War II, we were the ultimate superpower. We were lucky enough that we came out with all our factories and our plants and our roads and our bridges intact. We wasn't like Japan or Europe. We didn't get destroyed. So we were way ahead. America was right where it needed to be. Financially, culture, everything was on top. And now we start farming out things. We start quitting. We're not doing the things that we not only knew how to do, but we taught the rest of the world how to drill. And that's your national security, John. Why would you farm out your national security? That's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, well, I think that's so important. This year in the legislature, we worked on energy policy a lot, and one of our big objectives really was to say we need available dispatchable power, and if the federal government wants to close down the coal plants in Utah, then we'll be permitted to do something else, to have a nuclear plant, but it's something that's got to be dispatchable, it's got to be available, and so yeah, we did quite a bit this legislative session to get at that, because we talk about this climate policy. We don't have a climate policy. We have a war on coal. We have a war on fossil fuels. And this idea of going to a decent energy policy is really important. You say here excess inflation. We'll control that.
Well, we have to. I mean, and we've a lot of our problem with inflation is because interest rate got so high. Well, interest rate got so high because of the mismanagement of the government. Now when interest rate got to where it is, and the bonds that have been issued since interest rate got up, look at those bonds that we've had to buy, had to sell in order just to pay the interest and continue to pay our debt. We're 24 years in a row here not making a payment on our debt. We're 24 years in a row adding to the debt and then our interest. So now, when you look at that interest, now we've penalized ourselves. When inflation moved interest up, that now we're going to pay tremendous amount more on the bonds when we're borrowing our money. So we've created this inflation.
Right.
We had a good economy. First thing they want to do is slow it down.
Yeah.
So what do? You raise the interest rate. People are not building homes. They're not buying cars.
You print money, more money chasing the same number of goods. Prices are going to go up.
Prices are going to go. And I look at some of the inflation, I think, as a spillover from COVID. The first round of stimulus, maybe we didn't need that much, but we certainly didn't need the second round. We have now put a lot of people on the couch and sitting at home. They're not going to go back to work. You've got 10 million jobs in this country right now with the help wanted sign out that we can't fill.
Right.
Now that's a sad situation.
Yeah. Well, some of these other ones fight corruption at every level in government.
Yes, we need to.
That seems like a no-brainer, right?
Well, it is, but we need to have a zero policy at it. You get caught, you're gone.
Yeah.
That's not slap your hand and come back. We need to take corruption out of the government. That's, the way our government started out, people that had a shop or a business, they would come work for the government, serve the people for a short period of time, and go back to do their job. It's not like that now. It's all a career politicians now, too many of it. Not all of them, but too many of it.
I like this one, and this is something we've done in Utah here. Make school choice and security a priority.
Absolutely. I mean, if charter schools, me and my wife helped build a charter school in Beaumont. We have a waiting list at that school. I mean, people are standing in line to put their kids through that school, but not just ours, all charter schools. They do so much better because they're not under the government's watch so much. We don't get any money from the city. We don't get any taxes from the city. So we have to fund it ourselves. But we're profitable because people are lining up to go to it. And that's what you have. But not just the education. You don't need to just help education. You got to make it safer. And we can do that. The federal government can make these schools a lot safer.
Yeah, we just had a major school safety bill that was passed. In fact, we just had one of the guys from Parkland, Florida here talking on the podcast. with Representative Wilcox, who actually ran that bill. Yeah, school safety, that's a priority. We also have a thing called the Utah Fits All Scholarship, and that scholarship, they just put out applications for it, and we have about 10,000 scholarships that are available. We've already got 15,000 applications.
Wow.
And we're going to have close to 40,000. Mandatory financial literacy.
Yes. I mean, when I went to school and you went to school, I'm a little older than you, although it is your birthday. And I won't try to steal that thunder. But, we reading, writing, and arithmetic. But we had civics class, too. You had to learn a little bit about your government and what was a good interest rate.
Right.
Is 1.5% a month good or 6% a year better? A lot of people can't tell you the answer to that. That's a sad deal.
Yeah.
So I want to get that back in school so we understand. Kids don't even know, they don't do it anymore, but used to, kids coming out of school didn't even know how to balance a checkbook. Now nobody has a checkbook. It's all a credit card. The casinos do that. They'll take your money and give you chips so you lose sense of value of money. That's what a credit card does.
Right.
When you swipe that card, you didn't know you just spent
And
$300.
so you really just want kids to learn this when they're in school.
Absolutely.
So then term limits is the last one on this list.
Yeah, term limits, and I guess I'll tread on you just a little bit. You're a politician, and I don't mean that we want
in my first term, I'm just running for re-election.
Yeah, so 4 years. So this will cover you. I don't think that's what our forefathers thought when they sat down by a lamp and took a quill and a bottle of ink and wrote out what we lived by. I don't think they meant for politicians to stay 30 or 40 years.
Right.
I think we need new faces, new ideas coming in all the time. Not every 2 years and not every 6 years. Stay in there for a reasonable period of time, and then maybe leave the Senate and run for the Congress.
Yeah.
You can do that. But I think we've just overstayed our bounds.
Well, we're about out of time. Why don't you just look in the camera and kind of make your pitch?
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm Joe from Texas, and I really appreciate John inviting me up today. Go to joefromtexas.com. Look at our website. Get on here. Sign up with us. Ask us questions. Let us give some feedback to you. We're going to be crisscrossing America for the next 8 or 9 months, and we're going to talk to the candidates and see if we can get somebody on board to do what we know is precious for America. And thank you so much. God bless.
Well, thank you, Joe. Again, that's Joe from Texas. This is the contract from the American people, joefromtexas.com. Please go there and find out more about it. Thanks, Joe, for coming in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Happy birthday.
That was good.
Was
Thank
it
you.
good?
Yeah.